All. So welcome everybody to this implementation focused workshop for people who recently brought the Rapid List Reactivator. Like just some notes, this is not going to be a webinar with a slick sales pitch at the end or something like that. It's going to be an implementation focused workshop designed to really give you specific feedback, custom help regarding all sorts of marketing or business challenges that you have, and basically laser coaching. That being said, I'd be a terrible marketer if I at least didn't introduce one next step offer. I'm just gonna like basically go through it in 30 seconds because it's not something that I want to promote right now too much. But there are two openings right now in Front-End Freedom. I think that you've probably seen this already if you're on my list. Basically, it's a client studio that I work with, and we build profitable front-end systems for people there that turn leads like new email subscribers into high-value clients. And right now, we're shifting focus a bit to help people reactivate lists more effectively. So if you'd like more personal help with that, just check out the doc in the chat, open it in the new tab. And after this call, because right now I want you to ask questions, go through it. If it makes sense, send me an email and we can take it from there. So that was the offer part. That's it. No more offers. So Tisha, go ahead. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Thanks, Sava. I have been in a lot of different email tool providers over the last few years, but I migrated back to Kit in February. I was noticing in your reactivation sequence that you have a segment that says you haven't engaged with my emails in the last month. Or in the last 90 days. So what do you mean exactly by engaged? Is it just opened or do you mean clicked? Should we do 30 or 90 days? And how do you filter them out in Kit because it's not by default?
Yeah, so this is a great question. There are multiple approaches to this, multiple paradigms actually, what you want to optimize for. And I tried multiple things. Currently, what I'm using is that, first of all, I don't use double opt-in. So I use single opt-in, which basically gives you like 20 to 25% more leads, like people who actually sign up on the landing page. You lose about 20% if you do double opt-in. And I have come to the conclusion, this may change in the future, but right now I think and feel like you want to give people more than one chance of showing their interest. And by engaged, I mean clicks. Opens as a metric are very, very unreliable, especially with all the new changes that are happening with mailbox providers. Like newer Apple Mail clients, for example, sometimes block all images. I think Microsoft also does this. Scott is an email deliverability expert who's on the call who can give you more details about this in a few minutes if you want to like chime in, Scott. But the thing is, if you want to rely on open rates, that's not good because you need a 1-by-1 pixel, image pixel in each of your emails to register as an open. So if the email client doesn't open images at all, it means that even though people might open your emails, that's not going to register as an open. So what I have right now is that I give people about 3 to 4 weeks. I don't even remember at this point, but probably between 3 to 4 weeks, chances to click on anything. Like if they click on at least one link in any of my emails, and they have like 30 opportunities to do that, to be honest, then all good. Then they get a tag called internal engaged. If they don't click, then they immediately get into a specific segment in Kit called unengaged or something like that. And I manually review those every few days, maybe every week, to see like who are those people, what is their reading, or like what is their history, their email history, and I manually delete them, basically. So to get back to your question, I just wanted to give you more context about this a little bit, but to get back to your question.
3 weeks is very, I mean, I have a lot of people on my list who have never clicked on anything. I've been deleting the ones who don't open, but not the ones who don't click.
Yeah. I mean, if they clicks, it's hard to fake clicks. Like if they click, like that's registered as a click. However, what you want to also be mindful of is removing a bunch of people who might be tagged as unengaged, but they might be like silent readers. And there's always a lot of people who are silent readers. They're following you. Maybe something is going on in their lives right now, this month, maybe 2-3 months, but they're following along, and they might not even open your emails. They just read your subject lines, and they're just like, well, okay, so Chaba is probably up to something. Right now, he has a new course. It's called something about like list reactivation or whatever. And that's it. So you want to be careful of removing people who have engaged in the past, but then stop doing something for like 1, 2, 3 months. I know it sounds tempting, and ConvertKit or like Kit also prompts you to, I mean, apparently Kit can easily tag that internally. Like there's a subscriber scoring feature as well, or like the unengaged segment. But I think this removes a lot of people who are, they aren't interested, but they're silently following along. And and if you take a lot of high level people, potential whale clients, like in my case, I'm often surprised when I sometimes see that I have a bunch of A-list copywriters following me, and I don't know, I just get a reply from Paris Lampropoulos or David Deutsch or whatever, and I didn't even know that they were on my list, because, and then I check their email history, and they haven't opened anything in months because they're busy people, and they just, I don't know, want to see like what I'm up to, or do I have any new ideas that they can also find interesting, or whatever. So,
but in order to tag the ones who are clicking and such, I have to do it manually, email by email with Kit, because, or do you have the higher
yes.
plan to do
Yes, so I will show you. And by the way, let me know if this is turning out to be a very complicated answer, because I don't want to overcomplicate this too much. But as always, there's a lot of context there that needs to happen. So what I do is, let me show you actually, but my system is overly complicated, okay? I have to simplify this, but in the rules section of Kit, like automate rules, as you can see, I have a bunch of rules. And what happens is that I manually created link triggers for links inside my imprinting sequence. This is one sequence that I have, so that like whenever they click any of those links, they get added a tag called flag onboarding link clicked. They also get a score, but this is like, you don't have to do it that complicated. What you want to do is like, you go into the rules part and you just list out the links one by one.
Yes, got that. And
then you just add one tag, and that's it basically. And then you can filter for that. Here's how it looks like for my newer imprinting sequence. I probably have to like update this, because at this point I've changed. I'm always changing emails in my current sequence. But it usually works pretty well, and it's a very simple fix to this problem. It would be nice to have a built-in solution for that, but you just list out the links, you create link triggers, and then you embed those link triggers into the emails, and that's it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Was this helpful, or was this too complicated?
Perfect. For me, it was perfect, because they've been saying you have to get the higher tier, and I'm like, I'm not sure if it's worth it, because it doesn't have this kind of thing. Other tools like MailerLite do have it, but I'm getting better open rates in Kit, so.
Yeah. I have the higher tier with Kit, and it has subscriber scoring, but it's not that useful, to be honest. Like, I think this is a simple fix.
Perfect. Thanks.
So what you want to do, you definitely want to delete the people who opted in, but they never clicked on anything in like 30 days. And that's a different scenario versus somebody was engaged in the past and now they're no longer engaged.
If I do that, I will remove like 90% of my list, even though I have been cleaning it. So that's super scary. But
yeah, I know. I know, but as Dan Kennedy would say, well, do you have a list then? Like, how big is your real list? Because you just have a bunch of contacts in that case. And deliverability-wise, it might be a good idea to potentially remove those.
Well, what I don't know is how you can find out if they clicked on something in the last month or so, because if you have I have sequences who go like evergreen. So
Mhm.
it's hard to know when they clicked on that.
Uh-huh. Well, in that case, I think it would be a good idea to do this whole rapid list reactivator thing.
Mm,
Just go through, just do the system, like
mm.
implement it, and it's gonna reactivate a portion of that list. And people who don't engage at all, even with this, it's potentially safe to assume that you can remove them.
So send them a freebie and try to have them click on it.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question, by the way. So, all right. So what else do we have? You can share like examples of the reactivator script if you already have it. Other emails, maybe if you have a like a welcome sequence, sales page, landing page, whatever. So I just want to like give you value. Michael.
So, um, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is that there are a lot of these like list cleaning kinds of things that folks are suggesting. So I'm curious if there is one of them that you're just like you feel bullish on, or you're like, I feel like this is a really solid list cleaning tool. And then second, I'm curious if you would consider when you've got kind of a batch of people who maybe they came from a summit or something, so you archive them. Would it be better to start with a clean before you go into this whole sort of sequencing side of things? So it's a two-part question,
Mm-hmm.
but those are the kind of two things I'm very curious about.
Mm-hmm. So I personally use this one, Clean 13. I just dropped it in the chat. It's good. No tool is perfect. And Ben Settle and Troy Bissard, who are the owners of Berserker Mail, apart from
Mm-hmm.
many other, like Ben Settle is probably the best email marketer right now on the planet, who does
Yeah.
daily emails and who has like a strong personal brand. And they also have a podcast about this. There was a course that I bought from them about email deliverability and this type of stuff. And I seem to remember them also saying that, you know, as soon as you join their system, they force you to clean your list before. But it
Mm,
depends on how careful you want to be with this. And
yeah.
Scott, if you want to maybe add something to this, if you want to share something, by all means. I don't want to necessarily like put you on the spot there, but I know that you might be a bigger expert at this than me.
Sure. So Clean 13 is a popular one. It's okay. I put a link to another one in the chat called Alfred.email. There's several different ones that are out there. Really, the best practice is to run it through at least two different cleaning tools because you'll get different
Uh,
results, and then you can kind of marry those because there's no one source of truth because they all have different ways that they validate emails.
mm,
What I would definitely recommend is that if you haven't emailed these contacts in a while, so if you put them into the archive, like you said,
yeah.
there's a big chance that those email addresses may have been abandoned. So at the end
Mm,
of 2023, Google did this huge purge that nobody really like heard about, but Google did this huge purge of all the inactive Gmail accounts, people who had not logged in for 2 or more years. So if they've been on your list and then you try to email them, well, guess what's going to happen? It's going to bounce.
yeah.
And bounces work against you just as much as spam complaints, especially if you
Mm.
get a lot of those. So cleaning your list before you do any type of reactivation is what I would highly recommend, on that for sure.
Okay. That's a great. That's a great point because yeah, I've definitely had a lot of instances where you probably have dealt with this, Chavi, like you do a summit, and all of a sudden it's like this massive,
Yeah.
batch of folks, but there's only like a handful that really read your stuff and start to pay attention. So after a while, you're just like, okay, well, I'll set that aside. And yeah, there's so many of those where it's like, I had different freebies at the time, I had different things going on. So that makes a lot of sense to basically start with the clean figure out how much I actually have in that, in that batch. And then once it feels like, okay, these are legit email addresses, I can follow that, I can follow that process and maybe get a few more folks on the daily list and that side of things. Awesome.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So thanks for sharing that, Scott. That was really good. And by the way, to others on this call, like Scott is a world-class email deliverability expert. So if you are having specific problems with this, or if you want to work with someone who can help you with this, I definitely recommend him. Scott, you can drop the link to the audit if you want. Like, I'm a client of Scott actually, and he has a great little audit that can be helpful. So check it out if that makes sense. But I wanted to add one more thing to this. So there are two problems that we want to solve for. One is like the technical list quality. So these tools can help us with that. Like, okay, do we have a bunch of burner email addresses? Do we have a bunch of fake email addresses, spam bots, spam traps, or all sorts of various things that are not even real people, right? So we definitely want to eliminate those. And then on the other side of this, when we use the sequence, the list reactivator sequence, that's more about, hey, are you engaged? Are you a real person who also wants to be engaged by my stuff and who wants to show a clear signal that you want to hear more from me? So if we approach it like this and you want to be more careful, then yes, use one of these tools before. It's not expensive at all. It's like, I don't know, 1 cent per email or something like that. But then again, like what I found is that it gives you back various reports like, hey, these are the emails that are catch-all email addresses, or like B2B style info@companyname.com style email addresses. But when I manually check those out, like sometimes they do engage like real people, and I checked their purchase history and they did buy something from me. So you don't want to automate this out too much. You want to use the system, but then spend 30 minutes or something just manually checking some of those people as well to see whether the tool was right in the first place.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Because I also just think about the fact that there are people who I have relationships with who may end up showing up as like they're not approved by whatever the the system is, but totally. I know for a fact they're answering me even though they've got this AOL address or this like ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
And they're staying on top of it. So that's really helpful.
And also what I found in some cases is that sometimes the highest level people use email addresses that would otherwise seem fake, or like Hotmail email addresses, or like they don't even have their proper name in the email address. It's just a bunch of letters or whatever. And they don't even give their real name there. So maybe they just want to stay anonymous. I don't know. But we can't make easy decisions based on this. And again, going back to Ben Settle, at some point he was talking about the fact that, like, I think his average open rate was like 15%, which if you think about it, like the world's best email marketer has an open rate of 15%. Obviously, that's dependent on various segments as well. But the reason why is because his specific strategy isn't optimized around opens at all. Like, he's after the sale and he's okay with small open rates. And also what Michael said with the summits, traffic quality also varies a lot. So when you do JV partners from time to time, or people who you do cross promos with, traffic quality can vary a lot. Like when Rich Sheffrin promoted the Rapid Lead Activator, my book, I think that promotion only sent like 200 new subscribers, but the conversion rate on the thank you page was like 10%. And like my entire email inbox was blown up with sales from that. And those are super high quality people because the offer audience match was there. But then there was another guy who promoted my book, and I got like 6,000 clicks from that, 6,000 clicks from that promotion, but the conversion rate on the landing page itself, so my free landing page, not the thank you page, the sales page, was 6%. Wow. And then those people I checked within a few weeks, like more than half of them were already unsubscribed. So it's very so much.
Yeah.
Hey, Chava, can I chime in here real quick?
Yep.
So a couple of things that are really important to kind of be aware of. Obviously, the list cleaning is really important, but a big shift that is happening right now, especially with Google, and I anticipate this is probably going to happen with Microsoft when they make their change next week on May the 5th. But barring, let's assume that you're doing everything perfect according to best practices. So you're not getting spam complaints, you're not getting bounces, anything like that. You have a domain reputation. And I've had a couple of my clients that have ignored my recommendations, my instructions every month to them when it comes to engagement. Google is now downgrading domain reputation if you continuously email contacts who are not opening, clicking, and replying. So they are getting very strict about, they want to see people actually engaging with your emails, and they are starting to penalize people who just basically continue to email people who aren't opening, clicking, and replying. So you kind of have to balance this out, and that's why monitoring these things are critically important so that you can, get ahead of it before it becomes a major disaster for you. So this reactivation, the Chava that you've got here is really good, because if you can, revive a portion of your list and get them, active again, that's going to help you out overall with getting your emails delivered, and of course, staying in the good graces of the mailbox providers.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So a couple of notes on that, and then we can move on, because this is such an interesting topic, and I think it basically applies to everyone who uses email marketing. Well, now I forgot. Oh yeah, it was about the open rates. Like Tisha mentioned that 30%, she has a 30% open rate. Like I would say that's average in most cases, but we can't really look at open rates without context. So for example, one of my clients inside Front End Freedom, he came up with his funnel, everything was great. And then because his Facebook account is banned, he started running YouTube ads. And YouTube is supposed to be this more quality traffic source. It's more expensive, but more quality. However, he did use long form copy, and a lot of people who watch videos on YouTube aren't necessarily conditioned to read long form copy after that. So anyway, his imprinting sequence emails converted at like, the first email had like a 13% open rate, and it should be 70% at least, or something like that. 13% and then 20, 25% max, but around 20. So then I said, okay, let's try it with a different traffic source. And he tried it with a different traffic source. Well, suddenly all the emails, the first few emails all had like a 60% plus open rate. So it matters so much what type of traffic you're sending to that. So, and I've also noticed this. So whether you have a 30% open rate, I don't know, that like it's impossible to say without many other context elements whether that's good or not. It's not bad, but it's not that good either. But if it's producing you sales and it's producing you clicks and engagement and replies, then by all means, that just go for it. But generally, I would say what I've seen, and like with my sequences, for example, I can show you if you want, with my imprinting sequence. I was just talking about this on one of the group calls the other day, that the sequence that I use with paid traffic and the sequence that I use with other organic sources of traffic, well, basically they have very, very similar open rates and click rates. Organic is better a little bit, and this just shows that the right sequence works regardless of traffic. So this is the sequence for organic. So like people who join via content videos, JV traffic also goes there. I would classify it organic. So what you see is that the first email has 73%, 50% click-through rate. Then the second email has 61%. And then it stabilizes for a while around 45 to 50, and then around 40. And click-through rate is like 4, 5, 6, something like this. And it's pretty stable. Now let's look at cold Facebook ads. This is cold Facebook ads. This is organic. Cold Facebook ads, organic. Like this email, for example, 45.7, it's the exact same thing for ads as well. So it's converting a little bit lower, Clicks are lower for sure, because like cold traffic is cold traffic. They care less in general, but open rates are pretty much the same. So again, if you have the right sequence, it's going to work with most traffic sources, but you can still find certain traffic sources like my client YouTube ads, which it just simply doesn't work in this case. And the same thing is going to happen with certain JV partners, or say certain summits or giveaways or whatever. Is this helpful? Okay, cool. So this was a long topic, but hopefully it applies to everyone. Anybody have any questions regarding this, or can we move on to something else?
I had a storm, so I wasn't able to jump on immediately. I had a question with regard to how long one should evaluate non-opens, non-clickers, and getting rid of them. I didn't catch that part. Just quickly.
Yeah, we started with this exact same topic. I would say about 30 days for new subscribers. So 30-day clickers for new subscribers. For people who have been on your list for a while, and they were engaging, but then they stopped after a while, that's a more difficult question to answer. And if you rewatch the recording, like there's a lot of context and specifics that we talked about there. But the short version is that I would be extra like vigilant for new email subscribers, whether they clicked on anything or not within the first 30 days. And like you can manually, the easiest way to like set that up, if your email service provider doesn't have a tool for this specifically, is to just create manual link triggers for every link in your first 30 days worth of emails, and then tie them to a tag called like clicked engaged or something like that.
Got it.
Yeah. And then whoever doesn't click in 30 days, they will be tagged with unengaged. And then you manually review those people every few days or every few weeks, and then you delete them. What I do is that when I see that, I don't know, 20 people are in that segment, I open them up all just to see whether the system missed something, just to see whether there was something else. But in 95% of cases, like they just never engaged. I mean, they're all like, if you think of leads as a normal distribution curve, what happens is that most people, like the very middle of this normal distribution curve, they're just not going to do anything, right? So and there's only a certain percentage of people that are going to do something and who are going to be readers. So how Dan Kennedy always talks about this, I'm a huge Dan Kennedy fan, that's why I always bring him up, but he says that regardless of population, regardless of business, regardless of time frame, or like the 1950s or right now, about 80% of people, so like the 80-20 rule, like they're not gonna buy anything from you ever, and they're not really gonna do much. About 16% of the total 100%, so like 20% of the 20%, are going to be pretty regular readers, and they are going to be, you know, the fans, not the super fans, but the fans. 4%, so again 20% of the previous 20% segment are going to be the super fans, and 1% of your total, you know, population are going to be the whale clients, the superstars, the, you know, the key thing. And whenever you look at, you ask like businesses, they almost always say that there's like 4 to 5% of people in their entire list who make most of their money from. The others are onlookers.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah. So, but you cannot know this in advance. That's the hard part. You are definitely like looking for needles in a haystack. So the only way to properly find those 1 to 4% of people is to have a system that sifts through these leads in an automated way and an efficient way. That's why the imprinting sequence is good at this. It's really good at this.
Now, last question. I run into sometimes, and it's depending on my lead source, but do you ever run into the situation where the leads look like they're clicking, right? and then in your email inbox, you're getting like an auto reply from like a business.
Mhm.
It's like, what are those? Are those bots? Are those fake emails, or what do we do with those? Because it just looks like they're opening,
Yeah.
and really it just looks like it's a waste.
Yeah, there are a bunch of bots who specialize in this. Like they basically click on everything, every link. So the way to test for this actually is in the next broadcast email that you send out, embed a link in an invisible line of text at the very bottom of the email. So like make the text itself, like after your main email and you put your normal links, hit enter like 20 times, 50 times. And then at the very end, put another line, make it white so that it's invisible, and embed any link in that. And then
Friggin'
what you're gonna
genius. Okay.
and then what you're gonna notice is that whoever clicked that link must be a bot, because normal people would definitely not click that.
Thanks for that tip. That's awesome.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. And they also, like, bots usually click all the links at the same time. So they're gonna click everything that you have in the email.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, there is such a thing, unfortunately. Awesome. So what else do we have? There are some. Dan, good to see you.
I talked with you a while back, and I told you I had a big list, almost
Mhm.
8 or 9,000 people, but low open rates. And you encouraged me to work on that. So I set up the imprinting sequence just like you recommended. And what I did was I kind of did 2 internal launches. I created a monthly newsletter and a more frequent, almost daily newsletter, like every couple of days. And it made a huge difference. The ones that switched over to getting the monthly emails, open rates are like 60%, and our frequent, like the regular readers, they're almost like 70%. So we're getting really good open rates on those. But my question was, I wasn't sure exactly what to do with the original list. I was just checking. I got about out of the 8,000 people on it, about 2,500 have not engaged in 6 months. That's what MailerLite is telling me. So I was thinking about doing this re-engagement campaign, see if I could get some response. But I'm wondering, I watched the training that you did earlier, or that you posted, but I wasn't sure if I was just supposed to drop them if they don't respond after those 5 days.
Good question. So first of all, run those people through any of the services mentioned before, either Clean13 or alfred.email. Those links are in the chat. So make sure to open them so that you have it in your browser. Maybe you can do both if you want. And then do the reactivation sequence. And then what's going to happen is that there's going to be a certain percentage of people who start engaging and who click. And most people won't do anything. So then at that point, you have a decision to make. Whether do you delete them or do you archive them or something? But honestly, I would probably delete them. Like if they haven't engaged at all in 6 months, and this was your best shot at doing something like that, like if this was a direct mail list and there was no deliverability involved, then by all means keep them. Like whatever, your open rates are going to drop overall, but who knows? But since there are always new updates coming up that are ever stricter when it comes to email deliverability and email bulk emailing in general, I would probably just let them go. And it's going to give you a huge sense of relief, because right now they're like in purgatory, right? They're in limbo, a sense of limbo. And that's not really, it's not a good feeling. So actually one of the big positives of this reactivation sequence isn't just the people who you reactivate, but the confirmation that you get at the end. Like, okay, so I got the people who I wanted. The rest, I'm pretty much, I should feel more comfortable deleting.
I have another question too that's kind of related. I use that imprinting sequence on all 3 of my newsletters. So new members get the weekly one. The ones that switch over to the monthly, they get pretty much the same imprinting sequence. A little bit details are different because it's a different newsletter, and the same for the frequent one. And so that really helped with engagement on all 3 lists. But now I'm in the situation where people have the option to very easily join this list, drop that list. So there's kind of switching between the groups sometimes. It's just a real simple click in our interface. So they go through the same imprinting sequence like 3 times if they sign up for all of the newsletters. So I'm wondering if I should just have a general new member sequence and then just have a welcome email for each of those newsletters, especially now that they've all had a chance to subscribe to those different newsletters. You
But
understand the question I'm asking?
yes, but I don't quite understand why do you have 3 specific newsletters? Are some of these more premium? So do they have to pay for it in order to get the like more special
No,
newsletter that goes out
they're
every month?
more to do with frequency. So the one, if they don't want a lot of emails, they can sign up for the monthly newsletter. We got this nice big PDF that we all the graphics and everything. The weekly one is kind of an update and all the new resources in our online school. So it's just the current, more active readers. And then the third one is kind of the inner circle. These are like our most avid fans that are fully engaged, and I just share a lot more personal stuff with
Got
them.
it. And all of these are free.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So you're basically giving them an option to self-segment in real time.
exactly.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Most high-level email marketers, they usually don't do that. They're like, well, I'm emailing you frequently, and that's it. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. But I do get this strategy, and if it's working well for you, definitely keep using it. I would probably set up one imprinting sequence anyway, and then make a customized sequence for each of those. It's like, hey, and whenever they self-segment into one of those sequences, then maybe set up a newer type of follow-up sequence to the imprinting sequence that's more relevant to that particular thing. Like, hey, you chose the weekly option, which means I'm not going to email you daily like I do my inner circle, but I'm still going to share with you this and this and this and this. Just share other stories there.
That's kind of what I assumed I need to do. I just haven't done it yet. I need to get to
Well,
that.
maybe you just needed the validation from me, but that's fine.
Yeah. And you also said something about not doing double opt-ins on your email list. Can you explain how that works and how that complies with like spam laws and things like that? Just curious, because that is an obstacle. I had probably about maybe 20-30% of the people that try to create an account can't confirm their email, so I lose them even though they're trying. It goes in their spam box or whatever. So I guess it's a deliverability thing, but it'd be nice to be able to accept them into our community without that email confirmation. And they could always get those email resources down the road maybe or something. But
so we talked about this exactly, like you lose about 25% of people to double opt-in. I did use it for years and then I stopped using it. To the best of my knowledge, in terms of compliance, it's not that you 100% have to use double opt-in. It's more like you want to explicitly state in the beginning that they are going to get marketing emails from you, which I think I'm not doing the best job of doing. So I think I might not be 100% compliant in this regard. But I make it so easy for people to unsubscribe. Even in the first email, I tell them, hey, like, I'm going to send you a bunch of emails. Unsubscribe now if you don't want it. So I think it's okay to let them go, let this whole double opt-in thing go, and just put a clickable checkbox whenever they sign up.
okay.
But yeah, Rob?
I was going to say, I forget who teaches this, but it's worked pretty good for me, and maybe you can provide your thoughts on it. But he's an Australian, lives in America now, top copywriter, and he does like a 6-hour email where the 6-hour email forces the new subscribers to reply something. So he asks a very simple question
I
like,
think this was Ian Stanley, but
Ian
he's
Stanley,
half
that's who it is.
British.
That's
I
who it
think
is.
half British, half Australian.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. Because I remember reading his Hitman book. That's right. Yeah,
That's
from
the guy.
London. But that usually works pretty well because I got rid of the double opt-in as well due to that simple fact. People just are not doing it as they should. But when you do like the 4 or 6 hour email after the very first one, when they come on your list and you request or almost demand a reply, this shows you the real like engagement opportunity with that particular lead, and it works pretty good.
So thanks for sharing that. We use that by default, actually, in the imprinting sequence. So if you check out the book, the Rapid Lead Activator, I posted the link in the chat. That's like the shorter version, the first 5 emails of the imprinting sequence. But email 2 is called the conversation starter, and it's basically the same concept. It's like, and let me share my screen for a moment so you can see some examples. But so it's like,
So,
hey,
I'm so sorry then.
what was that?
I said, I'm so sorry then.
No problem, no problem. So, hey, I see you recently signed up, and then you ask a simple question like, what kind of clients do you work with? What business are you in? What kind of courses do you sell, or
Got
something like that? And this is all based on Dean Jackson's stuff, like the 9-word email in a little bit. So, Ian didn't invent this, I didn't invent this. You know, but it works. And what I've done actually is I've also added other similar conversation starters into my sequence. So as you can see, there's this version. Like, I see you recently downloaded my book. Hope you found it helpful. What kind of offers do you sell? And this does a bunch of replies. By the way, if at the end of the email you add something like this, you can put any type of like code or like secret word or whatever, and you make it white once again so that it's not visible. I can select it like this, but it's not visible by default. And then in Gmail, you create a filter for this specific thing, but it can be anything. It can be this as well. And then you create a filter for this specific word. It's going to automatically like tag responses to this email, to these conversation starter emails, so that it's easier for you to follow up with.
Got it.
And it's really, really useful because like I'm not doing the best job at following this up, and probably with AI or stuff you can automate this. But as you can see here, like conv rep, this is for me. So you can see I have like 1,668 emails threads here. So it's like everybody who replies to one of those emails or something gets added here. And then it's way easier to follow up with those people. The same thing whenever you're promoting an offer, which is a reply-based offer. Let's say, which one was it? Like Front-End Freedom, when I was promoting it, right? In March, I added a little, let me show you an example. So maybe this was a little different. Yeah, so anyway, you can see like 65 different threads. So people immediately get added here. And then it's way easier to identify them as well. I haven't done the best job with this following up, but you can see like it's easy to identify them in your inbox because they have something like that. So anyway, this is one of the conversation starter emails, but then after like the 5th email, and this one works really well. Like this was actually the idea for the rapid list reactivator, this email, because this works really well. And I was like, how can I expand this into a sequence that just produces more engagement from people? So I just, and you've probably seen this, a lot of marketers use this, but in email it works especially well. I just uploaded a blah, 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 whatever. In my case, it was a PDF version of my new improved ultimate email checklist. Notice that there's no link because I explicitly want to generate replies in these first few emails because that helps deliverability more. It's the same when I used to make sure my emails are on point before sending them out. Would you like me to send you a copy? And this creates a bunch of responses once again, and it's basically like the 6th email in the sequence. So once again, I can get away with not using double opt-in because I'm generating clicks, I'm generating responses with this, I'm generating responses with this, and then there's another one called thoughts, like, hey, did you get a chance to take a closer look at the rapid list reactivator? I'm especially curious. And then I have like 40 pages of responses already, 40 pages in a Google Doc of responses from this. But again, this, like the first one is about, hey, the psychology behind it is like, hey, good to meet you, what do you do, right? The second one is more like, hey, here's this cool thing that you might like, would you like me to send you a copy? This one is more like, hey, share your thoughts, like I'm genuinely interested. So these are all different entry points to the same thing, which is generating a reply. So another great thing that you could implement in one of the first two emails, or maybe even in addition to this conversation email, would be something like, hey, I'm just reaching out to make sure you got the book that you requested. I know that a lot of emails go to spam nowadays, so I wanted to reach out and make sure that you got it because it's important. Hit reply and let me know. I currently use a version of that in the very first email. So like, hey, your next step, hit reply and let me know if you got access to the subscriber hub. But it would probably be more effective if I were to use this whole concept as a separate email, as a separate automated email. So again, long answer to the question, but does this answer the question, Rob?
Absolutely, and more so.
Cool, that's good. Was this also helpful for others? Okay, good. Disha is like, yes. And you said, can you automatically tag people in Kit when they have replied to something? I'm not aware of, unfortunately, of anything like that. That would be nice. I'm sure there might be some Zapier things there or whatever, but yeah, I'm not aware of that. Would be nice for sure, because going for replies, like in my in the automation that I mentioned, the first 30 days, whether they clicked on something or not, it would be nice to also include this data. But in 99% of cases, when I check the email history of those people who haven't clicked, they haven't replied either. So usually a reply is a bigger commitment for people than a click. But there are sometimes people who fall through the cracks, for sure. Because generally when somebody replies to you, like they're at least more likely to click something within the first 30 days, right? Because like, they took the time. It's a micro commitment on their part as well. So what was that then? Sorry.
Yeah, just one more question about the double opt-in. We have a very large online school. We have probably 20,000 students that have created accounts. And so it's also important because we send out a lot of notifications, like class notifications. So it's important to make sure the email is correct. And we have a lot of community areas where people can post, and we want to make sure those are all moderated to some extent with legitimate accounts. We don't want spam bots and things creating accounts. So is there any danger to that by not having a double opt-in? That's one of my concerns about going with single opt-in. Maybe it's two separate things, but normally they subscribe to the newsletters when they join our community. And so there's reasons for the double opt-in to make sure the emails. Sometimes they just mistype their email and then they can't log in.
Well, technically, yes. So you will get more typoed email addresses or, things lost. But does it really make a difference? Because if they mistype their email address first, they're still not going to get the double opt-in confirmation email anyway.
That's true.
So I don't know. Anybody else has an idea about this or that they want to add as a potential solution to this?
So in double opt-in, I recommend it as much as possible because studies have shown, especially non-US, but studies have shown that the double opt-in tends to have higher and better engagement. But the one thing that I caution is I never have any of my clients gate the content based upon a double opt-in. Because if somebody wants to opt in and they're requesting a free report, we want to give them the free report whether they double opt in or not. But if we can get that click and confirm basically their email address, it's even better. And so usually, and I'm not familiar enough with Kit, but if there's a way inside of the software to run the double opt-in parallel to the delivery of whatever that they opted in for, that's generally how I recommend to set that up.
Yeah.
So put it a different way, we could create a double opt-in for, say, the email list, the newsletters, but not necessarily for joining the community and getting access to the sites. Require that double opt-in for the newsletter.
Yeah, a lot of it will just depend on the software that you're using, but yeah, exactly.
So in Kit, and this might be useful for Tisha in this case, or I don't know if anybody else is using Kit on this call, but you go to forms, like landing pages and forms, you go to settings, incentive, That's the opt-in, the double opt-in email, the incentive email. But there's an option there that says auto confirm new subscribers. So you can do that pretty easily there.
And I think that somebody else had mentioned to me, and again, I'm not familiar enough with Kit, but I think that they mentioned that there's like a liquid option in Kit that that you can actually make. Like if you're delivering in that first email, whatever it is that they opted in for, you can actually make that link the confirmation link, and it'll serve two purposes. So again, I'm not that's above my technical expertise on that, but just an idea.
That might be possible. So Kit uses Liquid, and there's a guy called Brennan Dunn, who's like a email automation Liquid IT guy wizard. And I bought his Mastering ConvertKit course like 5 years ago, and that was the basis for my automations. It's a really, really, really advanced course, but it's it's very easy to waste like 3-4 months of your life trying to build a perfect system. That's what I did 2 times, unfortunately, the perfect system. And then I realized there was no offer audience match, or like my lead magnet wasn't good enough. And then and that's why even to this day, my system is a bit bloated, because I still have some of those earlier systems that I don't use anymore, but it would just be too much work to like I don't know what to cut. It's like software development. Oh, we should just delete this line of code because we don't need it anymore, and it breaks everything. So it would be nice to start from scratch. I would have a more lean system, but it is what it is. But yeah, there might be a way, might be a solution to that, Scott. So I think then, like, all in all, I don't think you should worry about that too much. Give it a try and see how it works. If you notice a big drop in deliverability or spam complaints or anything else, then you can just simply go back to double opt-in. But if you notice that, wow, I'm suddenly generating 20% more leads, it might be worth it.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, cool. So what else do we have? What else do you need help with?
I got some technical questions. Maybe Scott might be able to answer if no one else has questions. I don't want to ask all the questions.
Oh, we have time, so it's okay. Feel free to ask away.
Yeah, so one thing that I do is I have two URLs, two domains that I use. One is a very short one. I use it as a URL shortener. And so I create links to these shortcuts, and then on my end, I have PHP script that translates it into a link to my regular domain. So the email that I use for my mailing list actually is that URL shortener, not my main site. And to be honest, I don't know what the domain authority is on that URL shortener, that short domain. I'm wondering if I should be sending the email from my main site. And I like having these URL shorteners. I mean, I can create a link in like 10, 12 letters, and go right to where I want it to. It's super handy. Kind of like Bitly or something like that. I have my own version that I do. But just wondering if the email needs to come from my main domain, if there's any problem with using these URL shorteners, anything along those lines.
I don't know too much about that. So maybe Scott, if you know anything.
So Dan, you're saying that inside of your emails that the links that you're pointing to, you're using your own email shortener or your link shortener. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and also the email, the sending email that I send emails from also uses that email shortener.
Okay, so it's using that domain of the email shortener as well. So, it's building its own reputation. I strongly recommend not using inside of your emails, shorteners like bit.ly.com and tinyurl.com, because those are used by spammers, and that can get you in trouble. But if it's your own domain that you're using to shorten emails just so that it's a shorter website, that's perfectly fine, because you own and control that. And so you get to be the one that stays in the good graces of the mailbox providers. So that shouldn't be a problem. If your emails are coming from that shortened domain, then that's building its own reputation with Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Yahoo. So as long as you're not getting a lot of spam complaints or bounces or anything, you shouldn't have any issues there.
We've been using that domain for a very long time, probably 10 or 20 years. So, it's got some history.
Yeah.
One other question real quick. The DMARC verification settings, I think I have those all set correctly. I get these emails all the time. You got but I don't really do anything with those. Do you have a service that you recommend to process those and recommend steps of action? I mean, I'm set up so I'm compliant, but I'm not doing anything with that information.
Yeah, so with DMARC reports, you can't really parse that data. If it's set up to where you're getting them in your regular email, and then you try to open up that attachment, it's written in code, and so you're not able to really decipher, what that is. So there's a lot of different tools out there that you can utilize that can, parse that data, and then you can go, look to see what it is. The challenge is that unless you know what you're actually looking for, it's not really going to be, useful for you. That is a service that we provide in our things, is that we're monitoring those DMARC reports to look for the anomalies and any issues. And DMARC reports do two things. One is that it can help troubleshoot problems. So if somebody says, hey, I'm not getting your emails, we can start looking at DMARC reports, and that can help troubleshoot potential issues. Secondly, is by having the DMARC reports, and the key is actively looking at them or having alerts set up, it gives you a level of cyber liability protection, because hackers and spammers are hijacking legitimate domains and trying to send out their harmful emails from your domains. And so having that set up is important. But there's a bunch of tools. There's like Easy DMARC, DMARC Digest. There's different ones, MX Toolbox, even Cloudflare. If you're using Cloudflare, they have DMARC reporting built into that, even on the free version.
So that's something you provide at your service as well?
Correct. Yeah, we have plans where we take care of all that for you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for helping me out with that, because you know this much better than me, Scott, and it was a very, very technical question. But yeah, I hope you found it helpful, Dan.
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
Cool. So what else? Any questions regarding the emails themselves, like the list reactivator emails? Or other types of emails? Don't be shy.
Well, I was wondering what your thoughts were. I know you said the internal lead magnet should be something really short, like a 10-minute kind of consumption.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about doing a webinar, because it's something I almost never do. And I have some good content that I'd like to maybe put out in that format. So I thought about just using that as the internal lead magnet, saying, hey, we're doing something special we've never done before. I don't know what
I
your
wouldn't
thoughts
do a
were on it.
webinar for this, because one of the key ideas behind this is that it's gonna give you like a quick fix to a very small but measurable problem fast. So it's basically like a dopamine hit. And the whole concept of the webinar itself just feels like work to them. Like, oh, well, now I have to invest a lot of my time into that. That's way different than, hey, I just uploaded a new checklist that I also use personally. Do you want it? Because they just want to check it out, right? So it's a way stronger way to like generate response if you give them a bite-sized something. So start with something small. Once they engage, if you do like, you can start talking to them like after they reply, and basically introduce the idea of the webinar. By the way, thanks for replying, blah, blah, blah. By the way, we're running a webinar about this in the next few weeks. If you want to sign up, here's the link. Or if you want a link trigger, click them. So like once they click on any of the links in the reactivation sequence, you immediately drip out some sort of automated sequence to them. Then that sells the idea of the webinar. But
Okay.
I wouldn't start with the webinar.
Okay, that makes sense. Another idea, 'cause I don't have a new lead magnet handy, so I have to develop something. But we just did a TV interview on a very popular station, and for our audience. And so I was thinking about maybe using that as a lead magnet, saying, hey, we just got the link for this interview. If you want to watch this, send that out. What about something like that?
That's better, but you need like a primary promise. You need something that taps into what they actually want. So just sharing more content with them might not be the best way. So I would take out one part of any of your courses, your other lead magnets, your system, whatever, that's that you know is something that people want, that they care about, and see how they engage with that. And
All right.
in general, that's going to be more effective than something that needs time investment, like a webinar, or just content, like, hey, because once again, like, here's an interview I did with someone. Cool, but I need to invest 30 minutes of my time to watch it, right? And that's going to be an objection. So you want to maximize the chances of them. So this isn't a sales sequence. It's more like how can we maximize the chances of them raising their hand at least once and saying, yes, I'm still interested. And what is the vehicle that we can use in order to maximize the chance? It's usually something bite-sized, something that taps into, like an email checklist, a new system, a new worksheet, an email template, or a new prayer, or whatever. You know, it's all those things. They work better. You just have different approaches to selling that idea. You have the first email, which is more like a conversation starter. You have a long form story email as well that you use, like the discovery story of how you discovered this. That's email number 3. You have email number 5, which is like, have you given up on this type of email? But you're still always promoting something that's a bite-sized thing, if it makes sense.
I just want to say you've really helped me a huge amount, Chava, over the last few months since I've been following. I just want to say thank you. It's been very valuable, very helpful.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it, and it's good to hear that, for sure. Happy to hear that. So cool. So Kathy, Margaret, Bernie, William, Rob, if you have any other questions, feel free. Like, don't be shy. You still have time. It's totally okay to just be, you know, like on the call without asking any question. That's also fine. But I just want to give you the opportunity to ask away if you have anything.
Don't need anything at the moment. I'm just working on my email. I actually just signed up for a free account with Kit. I've been using GetResponse and Aweber, and they've been terrible for me recently. So I'm going to give Kit a try. So I'm setting it up while I'm on the call.
Yeah, Kit is great, actually. So I do have a lot of experience in Kit as well. So if you have some specific questions about that, feel free to send me an email and follow up with that, because I've been using it for 6 years, and I did a lot of things with it. I have a bunch of automations built out, sequences, all sorts of cool stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, sure. So Margaret says, I'm just taking it all in. Yeah, I mean, it can be a lot, especially the email deliverability side of things. It's not the sexiest type of thing, but it is something that is going to serve you really, really well if you take it into account. So, and I guess this is the recording that might be worth rewatching a few times. So maybe I'm gonna just put it on YouTube, so you can watch it multiple times easily. So William says, I'm working to implement the reactivator using Go High Level. Yeah, I mean, you can use it with any tool, because it's about the concept behind it, and it's about the principles. And no matter what I teach, like probably Dan knows this because you've been on my list for a while now. You've bought some of my courses. But I always try to teach the fundamentals and systems developed based on the fundamentals that don't just go obsolete, or that aren't really applicable if you want to switch a tool or something like that. So William, yeah, appreciate that. Focus on the fundamentals. Do you have do you need any help with that? Do you have any question regarding that, regarding the sequence or how to implement it, or not yet? Both answers are fine. I'm good so far. Awesome, cool. So I don't want to force it either. So let's just give it a few more minutes. Like, if anybody else has any questions, I'm genuinely happy to answer them, because I'm here for you guys. But if not, that's also fine. You can also send me a follow-up email and ask away there, or maybe you don't want to ask it, right now in public. That's also fine. I just want to give you guys some value. All right, so going once, going twice. Cool. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you very much. Awesome. So let me know in the comments whether you find this helpful, whether you found this call helpful, because we did cover a lot of technical stuff as well. And I'm guessing Dan found it helpful. But others who didn't ask questions, was this also helpful to you? I'd love to know, because I'm always looking to, improve myself and how I deliver value on calls like this. So if you want to type something out, that's fine. If not, you can also send it later. Awesome. Very helpful, Kathy. So thanks again for showing up. I really appreciate your time. If wherever you live, you celebrate the 1st of May tomorrow, then happy 1st of May. And just have a good time. Wishing you guys all the best. And then once again, if you want to take this to the next level and you feel like you could benefit from working with me on an ongoing basis, then here's the link to Front-End Freedom, the Inner Circle version, because now I have like a membership community version as well. There are 2 new open spots until next Tuesday. So if that sounds interesting, hit me up. If not right now, I play for the long term, the long game. So thanks again, guys. Cheers.